guys, welcome, welcome, welcome to a unique recording and video of some ASMR with your boy, Kyle. Tonight we will be reading actually a book entitled Robbers and Robots. It's a book that I had as a kid growing up, and I haven't read it since. But I thought it would be a fun read. It was written in 1983, and it's a choose your own adventure storybook. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let's see. You are about to set off on an adventure in which you will meet many dangers and face many decisions. Your choices will determine how the story turns out, so be careful. You must choose wisely. Do not read this book from beginning to end. Instead, as you are faced with a decision, follow the instructions and keep turning to the pages where your choices lead you until you come to an end. At any point, your choice could bring success or disaster. You can read Robbers and Robots many times with many different results. So if you can make an unwise choice, go back to the beginning and start again. Good luck on your adventure. In this story, you are Terry Morton, a young person with an avid interest in electronics. At the moment, completely unaware of the dangers you are about to face. You, your dog Rusty, and your friend Dennis Frost are enjoying a Saturday morning walk on the way to your uncle's robot factory as the story begins. Your very own robot, Dennis exclaims. I still find that hard to believe. Your golden retriever, Rusty, cocks his head to the side and looks at you as if he, too, finds it hard to believe. Well, it's not really mine, but I did help build it, with lots of help, of course. I think it's neat that your Uncle Sidney runs a robot company. You're pretty lucky, you know. My uncle owns a laundromat. There's a trace of envy in Dennis's voice. He kicks a stone off the sidewalk and watches it until it stops rolling. Morton Electronics isn't just a robot company, you explain. It's lots of electronic things. I've really learned a lot by spending the summer there with my uncle. He let me see all the work they do. And then Bob Gladding, the research manager, offered to show me how to build a robot. He was making one called Gert, so I built one just like it and called mine Bert. Wait till you see 'em. I'm glad they're finished so I can show you how they work today. Dennis shakes his head in wonder. I don't know how you do it, Terry. To me, electronics is a mystery, but you're really good at it. It's just a knack I have, I guess. I've always been interested in electronics, and I read lots of books about it too. Don't you ever get tired of it? I mean, doesn't taking apart telephones and stuff get boring after a while? It's obvious Dennis doesn't share your fascination for the subject. No, not at all, you reply. Everything is a little bit different inside, and you never know what you're going to find until you open it up. You remember that video game I fixed you last week? It was like solving a puzzle. Well, you acted pretty puzzled when I beat you at it after you fixed it. You know, Dennis wouldn't be able to resist reminding you of that. He may not know much about electronics, but he sure is a wizard at electronic games. You are thinking about this as you wait for the traffic to clear before crossing at the busy street you've come to. Rusty waits patiently at the curb for the right moment, then crosses with you, his coat glistening like gold in the morning sun. Can your uncle's robots really zap somebody? Dennis asks. They sure can, you explain, and pretty good too. But security robots are still experimental. These will move around a building, following a chemical track on the floor, or they can be maneuvered by remote control with a hand controller, like this one. You fish in your pants pocket and pull out what looks like a tiny pocket calculator. Dennis exclaims with interest, "It's so small. What are all these little buttons for?" Taking the controller back from Dennis, you point out different buttons as you explain. This one's turns the robot on or off by remote control. These buttons make it move or turn in different directions. This little screen shows where and how far away someone, maybe a burglar, is when the robot sensors detect his body heat. And these other buttons make the robot do other things, like flashing a bright light, sounding an alarm, or using its arms to grab something. What about the zapper? It's called a taser device. It shoots out a little dart with a wire attached, and it gives off a pretty good shock. It'll buzz a guy for a second, and then he won't be able to move for a while until it wears off, but he's okay later. As you start to put the controller back into your pocket, Dennis pulls something from his. "Here's what I've been working on this week," he says proudly. He holds up a small bottle filled with a pink-colored liquid. Knowing Dennis's love for chemistry, you are curious. But before you can ask, he tells you it's a liquid that produces knockout gas when you expose it to the air. Come on, Dennis, that's too much. Even your new chemistry set doesn't have enough stuff to make something like that. You're right, Dennis says, but having a big brother who's a chemistry major at the university helps a lot. Now you begin to take him seriously. Does it really work? Well, I think it does. I thought we could try it out on Rusty. No, don't do it to the damn dog, Dennis says with a laugh. At the mention of his name, Rusty stops, turns his ears, and perks up. Dennis leans down and pats the dog. "Just kidding, fella," he says reassuringly. He looks back up at you and continues. "Actually, I thought we could try it out on some of those muskrats down by the river. Yeah, there's usually some of them on those cement sewer outlets down the hill from my uncle's plant. We can corner a couple and try out your knockout gas after I show you the robots. It'll be fun." As you cross the railroad tracks, Dennis abruptly changed the subject. "When do you have to leave for home?" Suddenly, you don't feel so good anymore. "Next week, on Tuesday. School starts the week after that, but I'm not sure. I'm not looking forward to it." "Why not?" Dennis says. "Don't you like your school?" "Oh, it's okay, I guess, especially since I'll be the president of the computer club this year. But I don't have many real friends there. In fact, even though we just met this summer, you're the best friend I have." "Hey, thanks, Terry. You've been a lot of fun to have around. It's too bad you don't live around here, but don't worry about school. You'll make more friends. Sometimes it takes a while, but having a few really good friends is more important than being popular with everybody." You step off the curb of another street near your uncle's factory. Honk. And then they have a photo of them almost getting hit by a car. W. Honk. You jump. Oh, wait, my camera. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. Honk. You jump in reaction to the blaring horn as a big black sedan rockets around the corner. In horror, you watch as it misses Rusty by inches. Then, as you jump aside, the car swerves and flashes past you. Out of the way, Terry. The driver shouts out the window at you. He meant to scare you. Your shock turns to anger as you realize who the driver is. Max Kimball. You sputter. He works at the Morton Electronics plant with Bob Gladding and your uncle. What a jerk. You said it. He's been mean and unfriendly all summer. He says he hates kids and dogs both. He even kicked Rusty one time. That bastard. Lately, he's been sore at Bob and my uncle because Bob's robot design was accepted and his wasn't. He made a robot called Bruno, and for months all anyone heard was how great it was. Then, when it didn't get approved by my uncle, Max got really mad at everybody. You pause. Something doesn't make sense. Then you realize what it is. Wait a minute. Why is Max going to the plant? He's supposed to be on vacation in Hawaii. You and Dennis discuss the puzzle as you walk the last few blocks to the Morton Electronics plant. Crossing the bridge over the river, you have a full view of the building. A large parking lot slopes down toward the river bank. Because it's usually full of cars during the week, it looks pretty empty on a Saturday. And here's a photo. A nice little illustration. Approaching the end of the bridge, you realize that something doesn't look quite right at the plant. Hold it a minute, Dennis. What's up? Yes. I don't know. You reply uncertainly. But something's wrong. Let's wait here for a minute. You motion toward a telephone booth alongside a cement piling at the end of the bridge. Rusty waits patiently while you and Dennis, while you and Dennis peer over the top of the cement. Look, you say, pointing at the nearly empty parking lot. What's Max standing by his car out toward the back of the lot? What's he doing, Terry? Is that a walkie-talkie he's holding? You study Max as he leans against his car. He's a large, overweight man with a bald spot on top of his head. He seems to be talking into something with his hand as he glances about nervously. I don't know for sure, but it looks like it, you say to Dennis. You recognize 3 other cars in the parking lot. One belongs to Bob Gladding, the research manager. The other 2 belong to Milt Davis and Ed Seagal, the security guards at the plant. Those other 3 cars would normally be here on a Saturday, but I sure, as quietly as possible. Oh, I think I skipped a page. I did. But I sure don't know what Max is doing here, you tell Dennis. Looking around the corner of the building, you see a truck backed into the loading dock. Express Truck Rental is painted on the side. I've never seen that truck at the loading dock here before. The company has its own trucks, and there usually aren't any shipments on Saturday anyway. Do you think something's wrong? Maybe we better call the cops, Dennis says. I don't know if anything's wrong, you reply so slowly, but I do wonder what's going on. We'd feel pretty silly if we called the police and it turned out there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. I could call my uncle, but he wouldn't be home until tonight. Maybe we should check it out. Here's our first choice. Option 1. If you think you should go ask Max what is going on, turn to page 152. If you think you should stay hidden and watch what Max does, then check outside the building. Turn to page 115. I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna go to 115. Little page turning ASMR. Here we go. We're snooping about now. You stay out of sight and watch Max for a minute more. He keeps looking around nervously in all directions. From time to time, he bends his head, maybe to speak into his walkie-talkie. Moving carefully, you crouch down to keep the landscaped embankment between you and Max so that he doesn't see you. As you survey the building, you see no signs of any activity. Everything is quiet. No one comes or goes, and the only things you see are Max in the rental truck. You're wondering what to do next when Dennis grabs your arm and says, "Hey, Terry, take a look at the back of the truck. I think there's enough room between it and the door of the loading dock to squeeze through and sneak into the building without Max seeing us. Right? Let's go." Trying to keep hidden from Max's view, you lead the way in a low, crouching run, with Dennis and Rusty close behind you. You reach the truck safely and stop for a moment to listen. Everything is silent, except your heart, which seems to be pounding a mile a minute. You sneak a quick peek through the narrow gap between the truck and the doorway. There's no one in sight in the warehouse. It's now or never. "Come on," you whisper to Dennis as you lift yourself up onto the dock and squeeze through the opening. Dennis lifts Rusty up, then follows. "Wow," Dennis says in a whisper. "This is a big place." "Yeah, during the week it's full of people, but it's kinda creepy with no one around." Dennis takes a position to serve as a lookout into the warehouse area. You quickly explore the back of the truck, but you see only a few empty boxes. "Well, this truck certainly looks empty." You tell Dennis. "What else is located in this building?" Dennis asks curiously. "There are 3 sections. The warehouse is where all the finished stuff is stored in cartons and prepared for shipping. The manufacturing area is where the assembly lines and robot lab are located. The third part is the office area, which has rooms where all the robot blueprints are kept. My Uncle Sid's office, the cafeteria, the library, and a lot of other offices. That's way on the other end. Where are all the guards? Well, they have an office by the main entrance to the lobby, but usually one of them sits back here where we can keep an eye on the loading dock." You point into an office chair near the doorway. "Hey, look, that chair's been knocked over." "How strange," says Dennis. "I wonder if something's going on." "I don't know, Terry. This doesn't look too good. Maybe we should just leave and call the cops." And that's where we'll leave it for now. We have a couple different options to go for, but with that, well, actually, I'll read them really quick. We can, 1, if you want to check out the warehouse to see if anyone is in the shipping or storage area, turn to page 15. If you decide that you better call the police instead of getting involved further, turn to page 22. If you want to go into the manufacturing part of the building where the robot lab is located, turn to page 141. If you want to go to the office area of the building where your uncle's office and the room where the robot blueprints are. Turn to page 16. If you want to call out for the guards, Milt and Ed, turn to page 148. So, in the next video, we will make our decision and go from there. But again, this has been Robbers and Robots, a choose your own adventure book, and I hope you enjoy. So if you want, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.